Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please help me welcome to the stage the National Executive Director for ADC, Abid Ayoub.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Thank you all for being with us. I hope you got some rest and energy and you enjoyed yesterday's program. Look, we got a great program in line for you today. We got a number of dynamic speakers, a number of dynamic sessions happening. Just please be mindful of the security line of the time, and we are trying to commit to the timeline. We apologize again for running a few minutes late. But for this very first session, it's going to be dynamic, it's going to be very informative, and it's going to be very energetic. So I do want to call out our good friend who was with us yesterday, Al-Abbas Farhat, real quick to give quick introductions. Then we're going to get the program going. Thank you. Come up, Representative Farhat, come on. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Are we excited? We had an electric first day. We got a great panel to open it up. First up is Cenk Uygur. He's the CEO and founder of TYT and the host of Young Turks, the largest and longest running online news show in the world. He also co-founded Justice Democrats and is the best-selling author of Justice is Coming. I'm going to ask for a signed copy. TYT reaches over 500 million viewers monthly with 31 billion total video views, making it the most engaged news and politics network online. Cenk launched TYT on Sirius Radio in 2020 and began uploading to YouTube in 2005. He previously hosted shows on MSNBC and Current TV and has appeared on major outlets like ABC, NPR, Fox News, and Al Jazeera. Uygur holds degrees from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and Columbia Law. Please welcome him to the stage. And if you look carefully under each of your chairs, there is a signed copy of the book. I'm kidding. Next is Congressman Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna is a United States Congressman from California's 17th District in the heart of Silicon Valley. He has a vision to transform America into a modern manufacturing and innovation superpower. And he partners it with a commitment to passing Medicare for all, a $17 minimum wage, $10 a day childcare, and free public college and trade schools. Yes, let's do that. He is a progressive with a fresh economic vision. Ro worked with the White House and the Senate to secure the largest climate and manufacturing investment in history as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. He has led the charge to cancel student loan debt, ban members of Congress from taking PAC money or trading stocks, cancel all medical debt, and establish term limits and a judicial code of ethics for the Supreme Court justices. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Congressman Ro Khanna.
Good to see you. All right, welcome everybody. Great to see you here, and very proud to be in Dearborn, Michigan. All right, Congressman Khanna is one of the most active representatives in all of Congress, and by a lot, actually. So you took the lead, Congressman, on a letter recently to recognize Palestine as a state. So tell us about how the letter came about and how many folks are signed on to it now.
Well, first of all, great to be here in Dearborn. Great to be here with you, Cenk. Thank you, Abbas, for the introduction. And I love being here at ArabCon. I saw a headline this morning saying, Democratic hopeful to share the stage with pro-terror radicals at ArabCon. You know?
So let's
Where are the pro-terror radicals? Raise your hand if you're a pro-terror radical. What happened to the First Amendment? You know, what happened to the free speech? Free speech if you agree with me, but not free speech if you go speak at ArabCon? Come on. I actually believe in free speech consistently. What's going on in our university campuses with people who are criticizing foreign policy and then getting harassed, that's not standing up for free speech.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to the letter. Let's stay on free speech for a second. So there is this massive hypocrisy in Congress. So Ilhan Omar says it's all about the Benjamins. which is most certainly is. It's about money, it's about lobbyists, etc. She gets censured. Randy Fine says, let's kill everyone in Gaza, and no one even suggests censuring him. So on college campuses, there's talk of, oh, there's anti-Semitism, there's giant congressional hearings, all the colleges are attacked. I mean, if we're talking about anti-Semitism, Arabs are also Semites, and they have been attacked 10,000 times more on college campuses. So you're one of the good guys in Congress. When you point out these issues, is there any acknowledgement from the other side, or are they like, no, it doesn't matter, Arabs don't count, Muslims don't count, no, we're only focusing on Israel and Israel supporters?
It's changing. It's changing. There is a recognition now that the censorship has gone too far. I mean, Brian Mast, I don't know if you follow this, he proposed a bill to take away passports from people who may criticize foreign policy. And I'm thinking to myself, are you going to take away Marjorie Taylor Greene's passport under that bill? You know, because Marjorie Taylor Greene has spoken out about the awful policy of what's going on in Gaza. So the reality is now you have people who I work with on the other side, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've been pushing for the release of the Epstein files. We're saying that we need to rethink our foreign policy. We need to rethink speech. But you can't just be for speech when it's convenient. You've got to be for free speech even when people disagree with you. And what is going on in our college campuses is chilling for people who either criticize Netanyahu, who criticize our foreign policy, who criticize because they disagree with what Charlie Kirk said, and they're being harassed, they're being censored, and that is not speech. And then our algorithms. You know, I'm really concerned with TikTok, that J.D. Vance is out there saying that he's going to get to determine the algorithms. Well, we know that social media suppresses certain types of speech. We know that if you are questioning certain types of foreign policy, social media will deprioritize it. So we need to be consistently for the First Amendment.
So this panel is also about political realignment. And so free speech gets us to a really interesting moment in political realignment. Because some in the right wing are now currently attacking Dearborn, attacking Muslim Americans, et cetera, and saying, oh, you know, they shouldn't be allowed to say this and they shouldn't be allowed to say that. On the other hand, others in the right-wing movement, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tom Massey, Candace Owens, are saying, no, wait a minute, free speech is free speech. And even when Jimmy Kimmel was taken off there, Greg Gutfeld, Clay Travis, and others said, look, guys, remember, we're supposed to be against cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
We did a whole campaign on free speech. We can't turn around now. So as you see Democrats and Republicans, right and left, moving around, is there a real alliance to be made with portions of the right wing that genuinely love free speech, as we do, genuinely love American sovereignty, as we do? We don't want any foreign governments running our government. So is there an alliance that could be made there?
Well, this country is desperate for a vision that is going to bring us together as a nation. And we can come together on certain common sense principles. No to PAC money. No to big money in politics. No to foreign wars that have gotten us into Iraq, into Afghanistan for 20 years, into Libya. No to blank checks to Netanyahu. Yes to free speech. Yes to rebuilding this country that was deindustrialized. Yes to increasing wages for working and middle-class Americans. We need leadership that is not going to divide this country on partisan tribes, but is going to present a transformative vision on the economy, on free speech and transparency, and on foreign policy that is actually going to be for the American people. That's what I think the country wants. So the alliances are shifting. Now, Dearborn, I don't understand all these people who have stereotypes of Dearborn. They've never been to Dearborn. This is my 5th or 6th time. First of all, it's great food. Just come for the food. You know,
come for the food.
Come for the food.
Stay for the American sovereignty.
And And then if you want to win elections, maybe our Democratic candidate should show up in Dearborn. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Well, how are you going to win Michigan, a swing state, and say, well, I don't want to show up in Dearborn? And we have a president who, in my view, was disingenuous, but he showed up. So the first step is to show up, to listen, to be willing to be criticized, to engage in speech. I mean, all these people, the reason they have this headline saying, oh, why is Kana coming with quote-unquote pro-terror radicals, is they want to intimidate other folks from not showing up. And then people in our party stay away. They don't come to things like ArabCon. And they show weakness. They show weakness. And that's why we're not winning as a party. We're afraid of our own shadow. We've got to stand up and speak out for what we believe.
Yeah, so again, with the realignment, in the old days, you dig in, okay, we disagree with a lot of what Tucker says or Candace says. For example, I have no opinion on the First Lady of France. Okay, it's not for me, it's for other people.
Did Tucker say something?
No, Candace does. Okay, so it doesn't matter. So we disagree on that. So what? If we agree on Israel, we agree on the Epstein files, we agree on getting money out of politics, we agree on anti-war. So I'm happy to build a coalition around policies rather than, saying, oh, if you share a stage with Tucker Carlson, then you agree with everything Tucker Carlson's ever said. If you share a stage with some person and they agree with you on an issue, that means you agree with everything that they do on that issue. I'm just going to do one quick thing and then I'm going to ask the question. It's such a weird thing to me because, like, when you go to a bar and you're going to watch the football games and you're going to have wings with your friends, do you go, wait, give me all of your political opinions first? And if I don't agree with everything you say, then I'm not going to have wings with you, and I'm not going to watch football. No, in normal human behavior, we play basketball, we go to drinks, and we don't have a litmus test for your politics, right? But the reason why they do that, and Congressman Connor alluded to it, is it's smear by proxy, right? So, oh, we found a guy who once said something wrong in 1987, and he talked to Bob, and Bob talked to Roe. Okay, that's it, Roe's doing this. So stop believing any of that nonsense and start talking to each other, right? So, Ro, along those lines, now we have an interesting alliance back to Congress between you and Massey and now Marjorie Taylor Greene on some issues like protecting the victims of Epstein and actually prosecuting the perpetrators. And that list grows. But let's stay with Epstein for a second. It's interesting that you guys have built that coalition, and now it looks like it's a winning coalition. And then so since you peeled off enough Republicans to be able to get it done, they're talking about maybe releasing with hall passes for another 20 to 40 Republicans to vote with you guys that wouldn't have otherwise. Isn't that a kind of a shining example of actual bipartisanship? That the mainstream, the establishment politicians, the establishment media doesn't want, but you guys kind of grew it up from the grassroots?
Thomas Massey and I have partnered on a number of issues. We partnered on a war powers resolution to prevent us from having unilateral action and getting us into a war in Iran. We partnered on trying to stop the war in Yemen. And so we've worked together on these issues and had trust. And we said, look, why should our government be protecting rich and powerful men who have abused underage girls? It is the height of elite impunity. And it's a symbol for everything people dislike about government, that somehow government isn't working for you. Government is working to protect rich and powerful people. There was a release yesterday in the Epstein files because we started to get some of them. And Epstein has met with Bill Gates and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. And I said, how is one person meeting all the rich and powerful folks? What is going on? And so we have built a coalition standing with survivors, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and we're going to get 218 signatures to force a vote. That's unprecedented. In my 10 years of Congress, it hasn't happened. Now there are two ways of fighting. One is to just go on social media and or the media on cable news and just go criticize anti-Trump, anti-Trump, anti-Trump. The other is to actually build coalitions that are going to stand up for people and deliver. And my view is that we've tried the anti-Trump thing since he walked down the escalator. It hasn't worked. We need to offer an alternative in this country. And we need to offer an alternative that gets some of the folks who voted for Trump on our side. The Epstein issue is one issue that is doing that, with the Democrats being the party now in partnership with Massey saying we're for transparency, we're for a government that works. Another area where we should be clearly in the lead is saying stop any weapon sales to Israel that are being used to kill civilians. Now, you got all these Democratic leaders, and you know what they're hoping? They're under their desks. They're hoping they can just say anti-Trump, 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 and that people won't notice what their views are on the issue in Israel. I called for the recognition, this letter you're talking about, the recognition of a Palestinian state. They're saying, you know, I got 47 Democrats on the letter, but I should have more. How can you be a Democrat in the Congress and not believe that it is time for the United States to recognize Palestinian aspirations at a time when Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and Netanyahu are annexing the West Bank and erasing Palestinian identity? They say I'm on the fringe. They say I don't have moral clarity. Look at the arrogance. You got France, you got UK, you got Canada, you have Australia. You have 4 out of the 5 permanent Security Council members, over 150 countries calling for the recognition of a Palestinian state. And somehow the United States is not, and they're saying, I don't have moral clarity? They are blind. They are making us on the side of the pariah in world opinion. And I'll tell you something, if this party does not have the moral clarity on issues of Gaza, on issues of Palestinian national aspirations and statehood, on issues of not having military weapons that are killing women and children and starving people in Gaza, that we will not have the moral vision to win back the trust of the American people. We need a transformation of our own party. We need a transformation of the courage in our own party, of the conviction in our own party, to be able to win back the country. And that work has to start in places like Michigan.
All right, so this is going to be a difficult question because it involves your colleagues. So 92-8 is what Democratic voters are on Gaza. They don't want us to support Israel in Gaza. They think it's despicable what's happening in Gaza. So you can't get clearer than 92-8, right? And for a long time, the Democratic Party's politicians were 92-8 in the opposite direction, right? So now things have gotten better. Your letter's got 47 people on it. Block the Bombs has 50 people on it. So that's about a quarter of the party, right? But nevertheless, 75% of Democrats in Congress say, screw the voters. I don't care that 92% of our voters are against the genocide. I don't care. So why do they hate their own voters, and why do they not want to actually do what we're asking them to do?
Well, one is the money.
Bingo.
You know, every other week I get AIPAC attacking me. I say someone hasn't cued them in that every time they attack me, my popularity goes up.
Keep it coming, AIPAC. Keep it coming.
The other is people are afraid of the headlines that I got today. You know, Kana shares stage with pro-terror radicals, so they don't want to be smeared in the media. So they've gone, instead of now doing what they used to do, which is, you know, just unabashed defense of Netanyahu and just unabashed defense of those policies, now they just say, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to go under the table. We're not going to raise our voices about it. But we're not going to put ourselves out there in a position of risk. And that's why they're not on the letters. They're not signing letters against it, which is, I guess, an improvement, but they think that that's going to be enough. Well, I've never understood this. I mean, you got Donald Trump out there talking about annexing Greenland or Canada, which is one of the dumbest policies, but he's out there taking these kind of risks, and we're afraid of saying that there should be a Palestinian state? I mean, the problem with the Democratic Party is cowardice on issues of moral principle. And that's not going to we're not going to develop that by sort of chest thumping or a form of masculinity. We have to do that by appealing to principle. The kind of principles that Gandhi stood for, King stood for, Mandela stood for, that has strength of conviction. That's what the party needs to reclaim, a strength of moral principle and moral clarity.
So, obviously, I agree, and obviously, I would love to see the party do that. But as you say, they're hiding under their desk. I mean, the idea of, you know what, I'm going to choose not to speak out, even though I'm a representative. Okay, then you're not a representative. Then you should move along. If you'd like to not speak out in your own basement, you're welcome to do it. So at TYT, we have a petition, a pledge to never vote for anyone who has taken money from the Israeli lobby. Okay? So that's at tyt.com/no more. Now, why do we have that pledge? Well, brother, why am I voting for you if you raise your hand and say, I'm going to represent a different country? Well, you know, I immigrated to this country, and when I was 8 years old, I didn't immigrate to Israel. If I wanted to immigrate to Israel, I would have immigrated there. I didn't want to. I wanted to immigrate to America because I believed there was freedom here, and I believed that we controlled our own country here. And so I love that this crowd is in favor of American sovereignty and having no other government control our government, right? So obvious, to me, it is obvious that the way that they control Congress, and yes, they control Congress, is through the money. So AIPAC and other Israeli lobbies have given to 90% of Congress. So we talk about 75% of Democrats not on the right side, other than 4 Republicans. No, actually, I think just Massey and Green, because the other 2 that signed, are around the edges. They are, yes, with you on Epstein, but not necessarily on Israel, et cetera. Almost the entire Republican Party. No, we will not represent the voters. We will not represent the American people. We will not represent the American government. We're going to represent Israel come hell or high water. So for the Democrats, though, we claim to be the good guys, right? We say we stand up for justice and fight for human rights, et cetera. Your letter isn't asking them to condemn Israel. Your letter isn't doing anything out like Israel doesn't have a right to exist or anything outlandish or anything.
It recognizes Israel's security. It's a 2-state solution. It's what we've been preaching for the last 30 years. Now there's a letter actually saying let's actually do it, and suddenly people are saying no, 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 no. That's the irony. This is the policy, has been the policy of Reagan, it's been the policy of Bush. In fact, I gave a speech at the Council of Foreign Relations, and I said, we've got a new vision to how do we bring peace. We need a Palestinian state that recognizes the right of Israel to exist in an Israeli state. And one guy who worked for George Bush said, Connor, you're not saying anything new. I said, right, you're absolutely right, I'm not. But when it actually comes to having the rubber meet the road of actually recognizing a Palestinian state, suddenly everyone is balking. That's why this hasn't been real. What I'm saying is, okay, we need to actually have teeth behind a 2-state resolution. That means having conditionality if Israel doesn't agree to it and is going to expand settlements. That means actually recognizing a Palestinian state.
Yeah, so that's why it's so puzzling that theoretically the official American policy is a 2-state solution, which would obviously involve the Palestinian state. And the Democratic Party is 100% in favor of that, theoretically. Then when you ask them to sign a letter, it turns out 75% of them are against it. So thank you for revealing that they actually never meant it. They never meant it, okay? So now, if you're a Democrat or a Republican and you do mean it, and you go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't know Roe had a letter, okay? Then sign the letter. You either sign the letter or you are against the Palestinian people. That's what you are. So admit it. So now the question of why. So AIPAC gives them money, and AIPAC also punishes. And they'll spend $2 million, $4 million, $6 million. In the Cory Bush race, did they get up to $8 or $12 million that they spend against anyone who dares to oppose their government, Israel, not our government, America, right? So is it that they're greedy for the AIPAC money? Or is it that they're afraid that Israel is going to cancel them if they represent their voters?
Well, I think, look, the money and politics is the biggest issue. I mean, they took Jamal Bowman had $20 million spent against him to take him out on his seat, and I've said ban it all, ban all the super PAC money. Summer Lee and I have a bill. I said it doesn't matter what the cause is. I don't take any PAC money. I don't take any lobbyist money. That's why I've been independent. And I have called for the banning of super PACs. How is it that you can write only a $5,000 or $7,000 check to a candidate, but you can turn around and write $1 million check to a super PAC? It makes no sense, and it has corrupted our politics. And that is the biggest thing. But there's a APEC tracker. I don't know how many people have seen that. But of all the quote-unquote prominent Democrats, or some of the people of different leaders, there are two of them that they mentioned, AOC and me, who don't take the APEC money, and all the rest, just go look at APEC tracker and look at the record. And that's why you have independence. But it's not just independence from APEC, it's independence from big money, period. Whether it's big money of pharmaceuticals, big money of big oil, big money that is of insurance companies. We need a transformative progressive agenda in this country. And we need a transformative economic agenda that isn't going to be beholden to special interests.
Yeah. So, guys, the proof is in the pudding, right? Do you take corporate PAC money or do you not take corporate PAC money? Do you take foreign government money or do you not take foreign government money? So yes, the foreign government money is disguised as American citizens who say, no, America should only work for Israel, right? But Roe doesn't take either one of those. That's why if you don't know, this is an interesting story. We start Justice Democrats. I'm one of the co-founders of it. That's the group that got AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley elected. And so I go to Roe before any of that happened. There's no, AOC is not one of the primary, this is a ragtag group that no one believes in. We don't have any PAC money, et cetera. And I go, Roe, we're not taking corporate PAC money, and we actually want to do these bills. Do you want in? He comes on the Young Turks and says, I'll be your champion, okay? So, Roe, so there's something you mentioned there about money in politics that that I think is everything, right? It's absolutely critical. So the problem is Congress is hooked on the money, right? So other than you and a handful of other Congress people, and what's interesting is now some Republicans have started to not take corporate PAC money, right? And by the way, the Republicans and the Democrats that don't take corporate PAC money are the exact same people signing on to the Epstein letter, challenging whether Israel should have complete command and control of American Congress, right? Why? Because once you get weaned off the money of corporations and foreign governments, it makes a big difference. So now look, if you go to those Congress people, Democrats pretend that they're against money in politics. But if you go to take money out of politics, like if you have a bill on it, for example, and it has a chance of passing, will they vote yes?
We have not been able to get the votes on it. I mean, Summer Lee and I, that's another bill you should look at. It basically bans super PAC money, and we have maybe 30, 40 co-sponsors. But look, I have said for the Democrats, okay, you can't unilaterally disarm. If the Republicans have super PAC money, you can't, in a general election, not have match that. But why do we need super PAC money in Democratic primaries? I still can't understand why the DNC does not just ban super PAC money in Democratic primaries. There is no reason that you need millions and millions and millions of dollars coming in super PACs against people running for Congress, people running for Senate. But look, young people have caught on to the game. They can sniff out if you're authentic or not. No one in American politics is perfect. No one in politics is perfect. No one is Gandhi in American politics. You can't be. But the point is, you can be true and consistent in either standing with people and standing with human rights and convictions, or you can do the bidding of interest groups and people in power. And the young people say, no, the system hasn't worked for us. The American dream has slipped away. Our life is not as good as our parents' life used to be. We can't afford a house, we can't afford rent, we don't have a good paying job, the system isn't working. We want something different, and we want a country that we can be proud of that stands up for human rights. And I think they are the hope for changing our country's politics. I am hopeful about the country. I don't have a sense of just despair. The despair is what Trump is has run on, a sense of, okay, everything is broken, let's tear it all down, let's just break it all down. And I understand the anger, and I understand the anger here in Dearborn. I get it. I've talked to people who've lost their entire extended family in Gaza, who've lost so many people in this war. And there are two alternatives. One is just to rage against the system, to rage against the parties. But then there is a deeper alternative, and for me it's inspired by my grandfather, who spent 4 years in jail alongside Gandhi as part of India's independence movement. And that deeper movement is to say we can do better. We're imperfect people, but we can do better. We can be building a world and a nation that recognizes justice and human rights. I am of that hope. I am of the hope that we can build a movement that does better and offer people a hope for the future.
So I want to get into that as a political calculation and how to unite the country in a second. So I'm going to ask you that question. But I want to ask you guys a question first. Because Ro mentioned money in politics, and this is a conference for Arab Americans. And a very functional part of that is the Americans part, right? And so we, because a lot of times we get smeared, our communities, Muslim, Arab, et cetera, saying, oh, you guys are just against Israel. So now, it's true, we're against Israel's genocide, absolutely. So are you against, but I don't want to speak for you, the politicians taking money from the Israeli lobby? Absolutely. Yes, okay. But are you also in favor of politicians not taking money from Big Pharma? Let the record know that was louder, actually. Okay. Are you against politicians taking money from big oil? Defense contractors. So, and if I asked this in a right-wing room, they'd have the same answer, okay? So, Ro, then it comes back to you. It feels like we need someone in politics now that says, I care less about the labels, and I care less about these tribal games, and it feels like the mainstream media is trying hard to divide us, right? Left, right, you gotta hate each other. Oh, look, the most outrageous thing this guy on the right said, the most outrageous thing this guy on the left said. Now they assume everyone on the left said that, assume everyone on the right thinks this, and fight, right? But what if you or anyone, along the lines of what you think, or just you, said to the American people, hey, you know what, if you're anti-war, I know Trump let you down. He bombed Iran. He's now trying to start a war with Venezuela. I know you're against money in politics. I know Trump let you down. He's serving his donors that want him to serve Israel. He's obviously serving somebody that won't release the Epstein files. I know that you wanted lower drug prices, and Trump let you down. But we're actually going to do all of those things. Do you think that person can win the presidency?
Yes, but I think it'll be harder for them to actually get the things done, because we're up against a lot of big money in politics. But I'll tell you, we've got two big problems in this country. One is money in politics, and the other is a hate that we exhibit towards each other, an unwillingness to listen, an unwillingness to actually find common citizenship, common national purpose. This country is hungry for a new national purpose, for a new sense of where we're going to go as a nation. And at the minimum, table stakes are, okay, you're going to work for the people and not for big money. You're not going to be beholden to these special interests. But then they also want a vision. They want a vision for the country that my parents came here. My father was at Michigan as a graduate student. They came when John F. Kennedy had called this nation and said, we're going to go to the moon. This was the place to be in America. We were doing things, big things. We were moving along, humming. We were marching forward on women's rights, on civil rights, and on peace. And somehow we've lost that sense of common American vision. I believe that if our Democratic Party stands against these big money interests, if we stand for people when it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to a living wage, when it comes to child care, if we stand for human rights, and if we stand for rebuilding the country's economy in every community and every family, then we can inspire the country again, and we can win again.
So we're short on time, so I want to get back to the issue of Palestine and Israel before we run out of time. Look, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Sorry to do that, but has Hakeem Jeffries signed your letter to recognize Palestine as a state?
No, he has not. Now, I will say the minority leaders tend to not sign these letters, but I think that we should be building support broadly. I mean, I'm hoping that the Democratic Party's position becomes the recognition of Palestine. But let's be very clear about this. The only way that we're going to shift American foreign policy on this issue in the Democratic Party is by winning the nomination and changing the Democratic Party platform. Until you have new DNC chairs, new people in the foreign policy, nothing is going to change. We're just going to have the same old playbook. The same old playbook on the economy, which saw deindustrialization in these states without new economic opportunity. The same playbook on the government, which has protected rich and powerful interests. The same playbook on foreign policy. And people are sick of it. But we've got to fight first to transform our own party before we can convince the country that we're going to transform the nation. And once we have a vision that can transform our own party and that can unite our own party around transformation, then maybe we can convince the country that we can unite the nation around transformation. That is what I think ultimately is desperately needed and what the country wants.
Yeah, so I now started something called Rebellion PAC, and Rose graciously, we endorsed him, and he's accepted that endorsement. And what it does is a populist plank that says anti-war, anti-corruption, lower drug prices, lower housing prices, higher wages, and paid family leave. They all poll above 67%. Isn't it amazing and shocking that the Democratic Party, those are all Democratic policy proposals. They're all incredibly popular, but we can't get them to do it. We can't get them to do it. Like I feel like I'm Van Gundy holding on to Alonzo Mourning's leg for some of you old school folks who remember that. With Roe, I found one guy who'll do it. I'll find one guy who'll do it. So, Roe, look, if we're keeping it real, when I started Just Democrats with Others, there was a theory that we could do it from the ground up, that we could get enough people into Congress, and then eventually things will get better. And things have gotten a little bit better. A quarter of the Democratic politicians now kind of represent their voters on some issues. But it feels like now maybe the better path is to do it the way Trump did it, from the top. Win a primary, take the party, and let's go back to what we were, representing the average guy, FDR, JFK, what people knew and loved about the Democratic Party, that we stuck up for the average guy. Is that the better path?
It's the only path, which is to build a movement. Look, I wish Bernie Sanders was 15 years younger, because I have no doubt in my mind he would win the presidency in 2028 if he was. But I think the reason Bernie resonated is not because of Bernie Sanders, it's because he built a movement. He built a movement, and he built a movement around principles. And that is the only way we're going to get change, is to build that kind of movement, to win the presidency, to win House and Senate seats around a consistent platform that is against the status quo. And you know what the amazing thing is? We have that opportunity. There's only one thing that people agree with, that the status quo is broken. 62% of Democrats don't believe that the leadership, the status quo, is working for them. This is the moment for change. And all of you listening, you can be part of this. You can be part of saying, instead of just, the Democrats are terrible, we don't like the Democrats. That's the easy thing, to criticize. The harder thing is to build. Instead of just saying, okay, we don't like the Democrats, say, we don't like what we see, and here's what we're going to do to build and take over and build a better vision. That's how we start to work towards change.
And as we wrap up here, let the record note for all the haters out there and the people trying to smear this community. Here we are at ArabCon, and a huge applause line for Bernie Sanders, the most successful Jewish American politician in American history. And we love the brother. We love the brother, okay? So, and this is what's great about America. Ro, you come from a Hindu background?
Yes, I do.
And here's a representative who comes from a Hindu background reaching out to Muslim Americans and saying, let's work together. Let's work together. Because, and also reaching out to Tom Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene and saying, if we agree, let's work together. Because it isn't, don't let them divide you, okay? It is not about race or religion. We came to America because we didn't want it to be about race or religion. We wanted it to be freedom. We love freedom. We love equality. We love justice for all. That's why we came to this country. And Ro, my job was to ask you questions today. We did. But at the end, I will say, as I often do, because we're honest on the show and we do something different on the Young Turks, boy, do I appreciate you, brother, for trying to unify all of us. We needed someone to do it, so thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you for standing up.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.